I'm Kai Mantsch, and I perform children's music, among other things. Today I was performing at Naumann Elementary, where I played for kindergarten class. What I like about playing children's music is it's a lot of fun to write, for one. You get to have a lot of fun with rhythm and rhyme and tell really fun, fantastical stories that don't have to appeal to an adult audience. Mr. Ant, I know you like to eat up all those little leaves. I'm sure you don't know what it takes to grow one of those mighty trees. But now that they are dying, I must ask you to leave. Find a new place to forage if you please. Mr. Ant, if you please. Mr. Ant. I have been playing children's music for some time, but I've just begun doing more performing. And I've done a number of shows at this point, but I'm still kind of getting the rhythm down. Well, actually, the first children's song was kind of a fluke. I was laying around the house, and we in fact had a rat running around the attic, and there were these little ants in the back that were like eating up all the leaves out of one of our trees. And so I wrote this song called Mr. Rat. And so I played the song for my girlfriend at the time, and she was like, "That's really a children's song." It's like, well, I guess maybe it is. And then from there, you know, some more songs started to come along that were like, well, that could be a children's song too if I took this thing out and I changed this and it's not that far off. My sister had kids, and so suddenly there was this, you know, they liked, you know, the one or two songs that I had. Finally, what I decided was there was a Christmas deadline, and I was going to get them an album by Christmas of children's music, which meant that I had to write it and get it recorded to get it to them by Christmas. And with that kind of deadline, I just buckled down every day, came down and just worked and worked and worked and worked and just wrote and wrote and wrote. And I had a whole album of material by Christmas. And once you have an album of material, people can listen to that and respond and get excited, and you see what things worked and what didn't. And so then I've continued to write from there. One of the things that I really like trying to show kids is how music works, and I'm still working up a good rhythm about how to go about teaching that, but I like demonstrating that, for example, in this song, here's this basic structure where you have a repeated section, and then you tell more of the story in another repeated section. And I think that when these simple ideas are conveyed, people start to hear these things, and then you start thinking about, that's not so hard, I could do that. And if you can inject that into children, then by the time they're getting older, they're already hearing music in a different way, they're responding to it in a different way, and they're seeing what's possible, what they can do to create music themselves. This one actually you guys could help me out with. So whenever I say tiny robot squirrels, then we'll do this. The tiny robot squirrels from another world. So can you guys do from another world with me? Okay, so tiny robot squirrels from another world. Okay, good. All right, so whenever you hear that, it'll come up in the choruses, then you guys can join me, okay? In the sunlight they gleam, they move so quickly it seems, they're just like shooting stars. The tiny robot squirrels, tiny robot squirrels, tiny robot squirrels from another world. Well, it really started with the writing, and what I had fun with the writing was that I didn't have to be cool. It's funny, there's a great interview with They Might Be Giants, and They Might Be Giants came out with a really amazing children's album called No, and then a series of albums after that. But the first time they did a children's album, they loved the idea that they didn't have to be cool, and they had so much fun with it. And the hilarious thing about them is they've never been cool. The whole thing about They Might Be Giants is they're complete nerds, writing silly songs that have, you know, effectively most of their music is children's music. So I think that sort of playfulness and that openness to just sort of tell silly stories and weave fantasies is what really appeals to me. And it's, as it turns out, people really respond to that. Kids really respond to that, and adults really respond to that as well. The tiny robot squirrels from another world. The irony is that when you do this, when you're playful like this, when you have fun like this, that adults love this kind of music, it turns out. And so it's been a lot of fun doing that. And I think that really speaks to the fact that I myself am such a playful, kind of fantastical person, that's where it comes from for me. And I think part of the reason that this music works for me, and part of the reason that I enjoy doing this, is because it's so much of who I am anyway. And this kind of lets me get away with it. Thanks, guys. Come back soon. Pew!